The moment we launched the game, something felt off. The screen didn't fade in normally, it flickered, like an old VHS trying to load a tape that's already been watched too many times. No music, no studio logo, nothing, just a dark background and a faint voice echoing in the distance. Flight 237 now boarding. Except the voice didn't sound like the usual robotic airport announcement. It sounded human, like someone actually whispering the words right into a cheap microphone. We both looked at each other and laughed nervously. "Okay, that's kinda creepy already," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. The game started with us standing in what looked like a nearly empty airport terminal. The fluorescent lights above us buzzed, flickering just enough to make everything feel wrong. The walls looked old, like they'd been abandoned for years, yet somehow the floor was spotless, reflecting the lights like polished glass. The game looked too real. I don't mean good graphics real, I mean photo from real life real. There were even faint smudges on the glass doors, the kind you'd see when someone presses their hand against it. That's when a small line of text appeared in the corner of the screen, based on real events. We both froze. "Wait, based on what events?" I said. My friend laughed it off. "Probably some marketing trick," he said, but he didn't sound convinced. Then we noticed something that made us both stop breathing for a second. The digital flight manifest at the check-in desk. It had names listed on it: Passenger 12, Passenger 13, Passenger 14, and right there, on line 15, was my username. I hadn't typed it anywhere. I hadn't even connected to any account. My friend scrolled down with the mouse, and there was his username too. We stared at the screen for a long, quiet moment. The air felt heavier. Then the same announcement echoed again, only this time quieter. "Passenger 17, please proceed to gate 6. The voice cracked at the end, almost like whoever said it was tired. There were no NPC, no background chatter, no other players, just the sound of our footsteps on the floor. Every sign, every arrow pointed toward one place, gate 6. I tried to joke again, but it came out weak. "Okay, guess we're going to gate 6 then." My friend laughed, but his voice trembled too. As we moved through the terminal, the lights dimmed. One flickered behind us, then went out completely. For a split second, I swear I saw someone behind the check-in counter. A figure, still and silent, but when we turned the camera, they were gone, just gone. We laughed nervously again, that kind of laugh you do to ignore how tense your chest feels. But something about this game was wrong. It felt alive. Every time we turned, the signs changed, words shifted. Arrows moved, the departure board glitched, letters rearranging until every destination read just one word: return. I felt my throat tighten. Dude, what the hell is this? That's when I realized this wasn't just a game, it knew us. And what happened next? That's where everything went wrong. The walk to gate 6 felt longer than it should have. The hallway stretched out in a way that didn't make sense, like the game's map was looping itself. Every few seconds, the overhead lights would flicker, and the shadows on the walls would twitch, just slightly out of sync with our movement. It was like someone else was walking with us just a few steps behind. I could almost hear the sound of a second pair of shoes clicking faintly on the tile, perfectly timed with ours, but whenever we stopped, silence. Not even the hum of the lights, just dead, empty quiet. We reached a vending machine near the corner, flickering red and blue from its neon sign. The drinks inside looked wrong. Bottles with no labels, cans with names scratched off. My friend tried interacting with it, just to see if anything would happen, and the screen glitched for a split second. A message flashed in white text, "Thirsty," then it changed to "We are too." The vending machine clicked once, then twice, and one of the cans rolled out on its own. He didn't pick it up, neither of us did. We kept walking, and the sound design shifted to the ambient airport music that had been softly playing suddenly warped, like a vinyl spinning too slow. The intercom buzzed again. Passenger 17. The voice was distorted, but clearer this time. Gate 6 is waiting. There was a pause, followed by something like a faint laugh. A human laugh. When we finally saw Gate 6, the area was bathed in a strange reddish glow. The big sign above the boarding doors was flickering violently, half the bulbs dead, the other half pulsing like a heartbeat. The digital display read, Flight 237 now boarding, but instead of a destination, it just said, unknown. My heart was racing now. Every instinct told me to quit the game, but curiosity had me trapped. We moved closer, and the sound of static grew louder, almost deafening. The gate scanner started beeping on its own. The screen glowed red, and a message appeared. 1 ticket remaining. I looked at my friend. Do we scan it? He shrugged. It's just a game, right? He walked up, pressed the interaction key, and the scanner screamed, not beeped, screamed. Like an actual human scream distorted through speakers. Then the boarding door opened just slightly, letting out a gust of cold air. The kind of cold that feels wrong, heavy, wet, like stepping into a freezer filled with fog. We stepped inside. Everything changed instantly. The lighting turned darker, more crimson. The hallway was now narrow, filled with echoing footsteps that weren't ours. The environment was no longer looping. It felt alive. The speakers whispered random numbers. Luggage was scattered everywhere, tagged with names we didn't recognize, and one that we did. Mine, I picked up the tag, and my stomach dropped. It read, Baggage Claim Passenger 17. I whispered, Wait, who wasn't, that the number from earlier. My friend didn't answer. He was staring down the hallway, frozen, because someone was standing at the end of it, and for the first time the game let us see his face. He stood perfectly still at the end of the hallway. Not moving, not breathing, just standing. The flickering light behind him made his outline pulse like static on a broken screen. For a long moment we didn't move either. My hand hovered over the mouse, and my friend whispered, Is that an NPC? His voice cracked a little at the end. The figure's head twitched slightly, like it heard him. Then, in one single glitched frame, it disappeared. The game didn't even register it as a jump scare, no sound cue, no flash, just gone. But then, a soft echo of footsteps came from behind us. I spun the camera around fast. Nothing, just the same red, lit corridor. I could feel my palms sweating against the keyboard. Okay, I whispered, half laughing. That was freaky. My friend didn't respond. He was staring at the walls. They were covered in new text, handwritten scrawls that weren't there before. Flight 237 never landed. We followed the corridor deeper, and the game's audio began breaking apart. You could hear faint breathing layered beneath the ambient noise. It was quiet, but not random, like someone was standing right next to the mic while it recorded. The breathing would sync perfectly with ours. Every inhale, every nervous exhale. The deeper we went, the more we started hearing whispers that didn't belong. Faint voices repeating lines like, Please check your belongings, and you shouldn't be here. Then we reached what looked like a waiting area. Old, torn chairs, luggage everywhere, and a big window looking out into total darkness. There were silhouettes sitting in some of the chairs, unmoving, like mannequins. My friend got closer to one, joking, Hey, look, passengers. The instant his character turned the camera, one of the heads snapped toward us. The model didn't animate, it just cut frames. The head twisted too fast, the mouth stretched open, unnaturally wide. And then the whispering stopped. A pop-up notification appeared. You have been added to the manifest. The screen flickered, showing a passenger list again, but this time there were photos. Blurry, grainy profile shots. Some looked like missing person photos. I leaned in closer, reading the names. And then I saw it. One of them had my full name, not just my username, my actual name. My heart dropped. What the hell? How would it know that? My friend mumbled, Dude, it's pulling something from your drive. maybe it's fake, but I knew it wasn't. The details were too specific. The date of birth, the initials, even the profile picture. It matched one I'd used years ago. Then, in the background, a boarding announcement started again. Passenger 17, final call. Your flight departs now. The mannequins in the seats turned their heads, every single one of them, toward us in perfect unison. We both froze, then my game glitched. My screen went black for half a second, and when it came back, my character wasn't in the waiting area anymore. I was in a different room, dim blue lights, humming vents, the smell of something burning, and right on the wall in red text it said, Gate 6 is closed. My friend's voice cracked through Discord. Bro, my game just crashed. What's happening on your side? But before I could answer, I heard breathing again. Not from the speakers, from behind me. I froze. The breathing wasn't coming from the game anymore. It was right behind me. Slow, deep, rhythmic. I turned around so fast my chair slammed into the desk, but no one was there. Just my half-lit room, my monitor glowing that awful red tint from the game. I laughed, trying to convince myself it was in my head. Maybe a sound bug, maybe I was just spooked, but then the game spoke again. Welcome back, Passenger 17. The voice wasn't through my headset anymore, it came from my speakers. Out loud, the system settings didn't even show the game using audio output. My friend was still on call, whispering through static. Hey, can you hear me? Bro, your mic's glitching bad. But it wasn't glitching. I wasn't even talking. The game had started mimicking my voice. The mic indicator kept lighting up, showing input when I wasn't saying a word. I reached to mute it, but before I could, my in-game character walked on its own, slowly, toward a door marked Baggage Claim. The sound design shifted again, the ambient hum of an airport, now mixed with faint, distorted screaming, like it was being played backward. The floor was covered in old, scorched luggage tags. I looked closer and realized they weren't random. Each tag had a name, a photo, a destination. Some of them even had dates, and they were all from the same year. The year before the game released. I scrolled through the tags until one made my heart stop. It had a real airline logo. Flight 237, destination, unknown. Beneath it was a note written in tiny red text, recovered data from incident. I opened the pause menu, hoping to find credits or something, but it was blank, just the word error. Then my game froze for about 3 seconds. When it unfroze, I wasn't in the airport anymore. I was in what looked like an underground maintenance tunnel. Rusted metal walls, emergency lights flashing. The sound of dripping water echoed from somewhere ahead. My character's footsteps were slower now, heavier, as if dragging weight. The static returned, but this time it formed words half robotic, half human. You shouldn't have entered. I looked at my friend's Discord feed, but his screen was black. You still there? I asked. Nothing, just faint breathing again, the kind that carries over the mic when someone's too afraid to speak. I followed the tunnel until I saw a door with a keypad. The numbers were faded, but there was dried blood smeared across the handle. The screen prompted me, enter your flight number. I typed 237. The door creaked open, revealing a huge, dimly lit storage room. And in the middle of it, rows of suitcases stacked to the ceiling, all tagged with unclaimed. As I moved closer, the camera started glitching violently. The frame rate dropped, the color faded, and then one of the suitcases shook. Slowly, it unzipped itself. I leaned in closer on instinct, and I wish I hadn't. Inside was a photo, a real one, a printed, grainy image of me sitting at my desk playing the game. My mouse slipped from my hand. My heart felt like it stopped. I turned to my webcam. Its light was on. But my stream wasn't. We reached the basement level. It wasn't supposed to exist in the game, not in the files, not on any walkthrough, nowhere. The elevator doors slid open with that low mechanical groan, and a wave of static hissed through our headsets. The floor looked wrong, not concrete, not tiles. It was almost like it was alive, faintly pulsing, breathing under the flickering emergency lights. At first, I thought it was some crazy glitch, but then the walls started to move too, like shadows shifting just beneath the surface. "Dude, I think we need to go back," my friend whispered. "Yeah," I said, but my hand didn't move off the controller. I just kept walking forward. That's when we found the rows of unclaimed luggage. Hundreds of them. Some looked decades old, covered in dust. Others were shiny and new, tagged for flights that didn't exist. And every few seconds, one of them rattled just slightly. "Maybe it's random noise," I said, but my voice cracked. Then one bag fell open. Inside wasn't clothing. It was an old Polaroid photo of a gamer sitting in front of his screen. But it wasn't just any gamer, it was me, my face, my headset, the same hoodie I was wearing right now. I froze. How did it? Before I could finish, the in-game intercom crackled again. "Passenger 17, you shouldn't have come down here." We both ripped off our headsets, dead silence in the room. The speakers on my PC still hummed, even though the game was paused. I could hear faint breathing, slow, heavy, and close. When I put the headset back on, my character was already moving. I wasn't touching the keyboard. He was walking toward a massive red, lit gate with the number 6 burned above it. The door slowly opened and the screen went white. Everything froze. The game crashed. For a solid minute, we sat there, hearts pounding, just staring at our reflection in the dark monitor. Then my phone buzzed. "Unknown number, flight 237 now boarding." I swear my blood turned cold. I checked the time. 3:17 a.m. We hadn't told anyone what game we were playing. And that's when I realized it wasn't just a game anymore. But what happened after we restarted the PC, that's where things took a turn no one could explain. When we rebooted, the game was gone. Not uninstalled, gone. The folder didn't exist, the shortcut led nowhere, and even the screenshots we took were corrupted. But one new file had appeared on my desktop, Gate 6 Manifest. TXT. I opened it. It was a passenger list, the same one from the game. And at the very bottom, beneath all the blurred names, was mine. Passenger 17 checked in. We both started laughing nervously, trying to convince ourselves it was some AirG marketing stunt. You know, viral horror stuff, but then my webcam light turned on by itself. The stream preview popped up for a split second, and in the background behind us I saw movement. A tall shape, barely visible, standing near the door. I spun around, nothing. When I looked back at the monitor, a message was written across the screen in distorted red letters. "Flight 237 departed." Then the screen cut to black. We didn't sleep that night. We sat in silence, watching the door, listening for any sound. Around 4 a.m., my friend got a text too, same unknown number, same message. "Your gate is open." By sunrise, I had deleted every copy of that game, wiped the drive, and disconnected my PC from the internet. But for weeks after, strange things kept happening, random flight announcements playing through my phone speaker, airport codes flashing on my smartwatch, even static whispers when I plugged in my headphones, and then, one night, I woke up to a faint hum, the same intercom sound from the game. It was coming from my closet. I opened the door, and my monitor lit up on its own. The desktop background had changed. It showed Gate 6 again, but this time there were two figures standing there. One of them was me. I slammed the power button, ripped the cables out, and just stood there in the dark, breathing hard. And that's when I decided I'm done. I'm never touching that game again. So Yehi, if you ever come across a file called Flight 237, exe, do yourself a favor, don't open it. Because once you do, it finds you. Safe to say, we're never opening that game at night again.